We'll discuss ethical implications, role of technology in artistic expression, and how humanity's inner intelligence can coexist with technological advancements, or can I? Our first name on the panel, Mr. Shekhar Kapur, filmmaker, yes, the acclaimed filmmaker known for shaping Indian and global cinema with films like Masoom, Mr. India, and the internationally acclaimed Bandit Queen and Elizabeth. The latter earned 7 Academy Award nominations and a BAFTA win. Mr. Shekhar Kapur is also a recipient of the Padmashri in 2000 and the Padmabhushan in 2025. Congratulations for the Padmabhushan Award. Yes, thank you. Thank you. We have Ms. Viktoria with us. She's the head of Sputnik International. Viktoria is a journalist and media manager with over 2 decades of experience as deputy director at Sputnik News Agency. Ms. Viktoria leads international news production across 5 languages. She's an award-winning professional and an academic, and she teaches journalism and has significantly boosted Sputnik's global visibility through strategic contact, innovation, and multilingual media initiatives. Well, Sputnik was back when we were small. We were children. We still talked about Sputnik. And we have Mr. Bivek Sharma, Chief AI Officer at PwC UK. Mr. Vivek Sharma is the Chief AI Officer at PwC UK, where he leads the firm's AI strategy and drives the implementation of AI technologies. He played a key role in establishing PwC's partnerships and OpenAI and Harvey. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Vijay Subramaniam, founder and group CEO, Collective Artists Network. We have a moderator too, and our moderator is Pragya Misra. She is a lead in public policy and partnerships for India OpenAI. We've been talking a lot about AI. So what does AI mean when it comes to news and entertainment? What is the future? So we have these Dhakar people here on the stage, so I better keep quiet. And over this, I move over to Pragya Misra for moderating the discussion. Over to you, Pragya. Here we go.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the intros. And yeah, really excited to talk to this room filled with people who are obviously AI enthusiasts, and lovely to have these panelists who are going to be speaking about the various genres which are obviously going to be impacting AI. And, I think we often talk about AI today all the time, and then it's obviously unbelievable that it's just only 2.5 years ago that we had the ChatGPT moment when AI now has truly become and also impacting our lives every single day. I'm just going to kick this off with Shekhar, because I'm a massive believer that AI is going to be democratizing storytelling. It's going to be democratizing access to, I would say, Google or other technology platforms democratize access to knowledge, or the internet did that. OpenAI and other AI models are going to be changing the world and democratizing access to intelligence. And really, how is that going to shift, various industries? But here, of course, I'll talk about filmmaking, and I know you're a massive advocate for the use of AI. I'd love to hear how you are really seeing in the filmmaking process, how is AI shifting a lot of the areas in that space?
AI is an existential change. It's not a change per sector. I cannot talk about AI changing film without how AI is changing society. It's like the invention of the wheel. And everybody says, oh my God, if everything becomes a wheel, everything will roll down and kill us. That's what I'm seeing people talking. What are you talking about? It's nonsense. The nonsensical part of what people are saying about AI is that think of AI as the top of the pyramid. Actually, AI is going to change the bottom of the pyramid. I have a story. Can I tell you?
Can't wait.
It says the CEO was going out to do a $10 billion race that evening with his investor. He comes into his office early in the morning. There's only the cleaning lady there. And the cleaning lady says, sir, I found these documents in the waste paper basket. Shall I throw them away? And he looks at the documents. It's his pitch. And he gets really upset, like, who's got my pitch? And he thinks he's going to fire the secretary. He looks carefully into the eyes of the cleaning lady as if she's a plant. No. And he walks away, he walks to his door, and she said, sir, I read it, and you're wrong. He's so upset. He walks in, bangs the door shut, but now there's doubt. Mind will doubt, yes, no, what's going on? And she's right, it's not great. And what he says is from under the door, some papers are being pushed and a knock saying, "Sir, I've got a version. Can you read it?" And he reads her version. She's right. What happened? Here's what happened. She had a blank mind and she learnt prompting. She came in at the bottom of the pyramid and learnt the whole process of prompting. He was an MBA. He'd gone to Harvard. He went to Harvard. He has years of understanding of how business runs. He doesn't understand that AI is the complete society change. The wheel is being reinvented. And from the bottom of the pyramid is where need is. It's a need-based technology. It's going to go where it's needed. So we can keep talking about the trillions of dollars of creating it, all the stacks and everything. It's need-based. When it comes to need-based, in the pyramid, the need is going to rush up like gushing, like a volcano coming out from the bottom of the pyramid, and the pyramid is going to go flat. How are you going to, even any one of you, going to structure any of the organizations we know if the pyramid is flat? Can I tell you how? Let's watch nature. How many of you have seen birds, sparrows murmuring, it's called, right? Thousands of them move and then suddenly shift. Which sparrow decided it would shift? Which sparrow followed? How did that decision get made? And they say there's a very regular, it's a survival thing that they do, and then they suddenly shift. We've got to go back and learn how nature works to understand how organizations will work. Now, come back to films. 500 crore film in India, $200 million. I can do that for 20 million. $20 million I can do for 2 million. $2 million I can do for 200. So just to prove that, A.R. Rahman and I have been running a music school in Dharavi for kids that have nothing. And we're teaching them rap, because rap is something that they really get into because they can express their anger, and hip-hop. And now we're starting a film school, AI film school, because we can teach them prompting. They don't have to go to film school. I'm killing my own self now, because I learned I'm this big filmmaker, but they have stories to tell. If you have a story to tell, AI will allow you to do it. AI filmmaking will allow you to do it through prompting. So we're going to teach those kids. They're going to beat us at it. They're going to beat us games. So it's not just in film. It's a societal change that's coming. And we all accept that we are sitting at the bottom of the pyramid saying, oh, $1 trillion is this, all the startups are this. That's not nonsense. It's coming from where it's needed most. And it's needed most at the bottom of the pyramid.
No, absolutely. Very, very well put. And I think it's a great segue to, also talk to you, Vijay, where, you're seeing obviously a bunch of creators using our tools, or rather using AI more broadly. I've certainly heard from, creators who I've interacted with where they're using AI tools, but specifically even Sora, where when they want to pitch an idea and take it to a producer, or take it to a director, or even a concept creator, it's very easy to do that today because I don't have to visualize too much. I can actually just create a montage very quickly and show it to my stakeholders and really raise funding or get what I need to get that project off the ground. So really curious to see how, or hear from you, how are your creators really using AI, and what are some of the shifts you've really noticed?
I think twofold. I think there's a fundamental shift in the use cases. I think we're still getting there. Is it completely there yet? I think we're probably a couple of years away from things being absolutely photoreal across the board. Are you going to have technologies where you don't have to dub films anymore? You don't have to subtitle them anymore. I feel the one thing that I agree with Sir on is is the one thing, especially in India, and we're kind of big proponents of this at Collective, is I feel where you really disrupt is the bottom, absolute bottom of the creator pyramid. Right? It's the guy sitting in small towns. It's the guy sitting in the nooks and corners of the country. And that's where, the call out to platforms, to people who build tools over models, right? And that's what we're trying to see what we can do is, can you get to a point where an Uber driver who's moonlighting as a creator can put out content on his or her social media platform and make it a lot more effective in terms of reach just by enhancing quality. Are we there yet? Yes and no. I think we still have some time to go. But I feel more than the big films, because I think visual effects has been around for years. I think, yes, are there economies of scale that AI will bring in? The answer is yes. Will you get more reach? The answer is yes. But I feel you have X number of screens in the world, but you have millions of devices and you have billions of creators. And I feel that's where the disruption will come in at scale. Would love to know, how you guys are viewing this, platforms such as yourselves, Meta, Google, because it's all happening there in that economy. And the other big thing I think of AI from an advertiser standpoint, which is what funds the creator industry fundamentally, right, is how are you going to extract more data and more reach through AI, right? Not just the creation process, but also the measurement process, right? How is your ad dollar becoming better? Especially in India, in a market which is becoming very dichotomous towards ad spending on just two platforms, how is the creator becoming the new platform, right? And I think that really is where we are focusing all our energies on. So if you ask us, yesterday in the opening presentation of the Honorable Prime Minister, he mentioned 900 million internet users, right? We're still 600 million away who are internet dark.
True. Right?
When those guys come online, what is it that will happen there? And I think so, as far as we are concerned, I think the absolute answer for that is it going to be the new World Wide Web? I don't think AI is an option. I think AI is a change in paradigm. But the used case, I think we're still about a year away in the creator economy from that use scale being absolutely scaled up. We need to see that one feature film which is completely generated on AI, which does $100 million in box office, right? Yes, will it make it cheaper? I think that's the other part of it. But is it replacing live action? As of now, the jury's out on that. I don't think you can creativity cannot be replaced. I think it's an enhancement tool.
No, absolutely. I think, to your point on will a feature film be completely created by AI, I often wonder that will I still connect with it like I would when there is actually, real actors, doing the movie. So as long as, AI is part of the process and is making it easier, better, enhancing it, and is acting as an augmentation tool, I think it's wonderful. But, the jury is out even for me, where I see completely AI-generated content on our platforms today, and I'm like, am I really connecting with it as much as I do when I see a human on the other side? A lot of creators are now doing avatar versions, right? They have avatars of their own, and then they're sort of pushing brands. So I think the human connection is certainly something that's...
Absolutely, and I think this was a big cry out in Los Angeles with the writer's strike. I'm even saying for creators that we manage, right, at the bottom, 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, WhatsApp creators, live commerce creators, right? I feel for all of them, I keep saying that use technology as a tool. There's a jury out there which says technology is replacing us. I think they can replace jobs. They may not replace creativity. I think they're two fundamentally different conversations to have. You can replace an operative job, but I don't think you can replace a creative job. Not yet. Jury's out. In 3 years' time, are we all going to look at robots to write a script? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where the world is going there. But as of today, I feel if you find a sweet spot on blending the two, people who are smart enough to acknowledge it, I think will win in the long run across all stakeholder ecosystems.
Absolutely agree with you. And I think that's a good time for me to talk to you, Viktoria, because I think, just as you lead a newsroom, we are seeing, with our partnerships with Van Infra and other industry organizations that, our tools are playing an important role in research and data crunching and things like that for journalists and really helping them write far more informed stories. So really curious to see and hear from you on how you seeing that changing in your newsroom and also what is to come.
So yes, and we as journalists are experiencing this media shift. And with the help of AI, we can not do better prompts, because prompts is what is the creative part. People do prompts. So serious journalism is transforming with the help of AI. So what we're noticing is that we can do different geopolitical topics, like defense topics, military topics, hard news, because what we're doing is hard news. It's not mainly entertainment or culture or sports. So what we can do and what we should do to appeal to the younger audiences, because right now, especially in India, in Russia, in China, the Generation Z is like the most of the audience that we have. Like it's people from 18 to 30 years old. So we have to appeal to them. What we should do, we should reformat our serious journalism into shorter formats, like threads on X, like from long hour podcasts on radio, we go to shorter formats, like we cut longer interviews into pieces and cut it into bite-sized pieces. This is exactly what the audience wants. YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Twitter short videos. So there is a place for serious journalism in shorter formats. And where the AI comes in is where we do, for example, radio broadcasts. We do lots of interpreting, transcribing. We do voice cloning. We can, well, if I have a chance, I'll show you a bit. So we can clone any of our anchors' voices. And we have a Russian philosopher, Dugin, for example. I think he's famous in India, Dugin, the philosopher. He can speak 35 languages. I mean, he can appeal to any audience. And he is a Sputnik in the form of AI, an AI person. Well, we've taken the real person, we've shoot a short film with him, and we cloned him. We have AI anchors on TV. We have AI anchors on radio. We do subtitles. We do logo placing on different video pieces. And we also do, for serious journalism, wrapped into the younger perspective, so to say, we do the political memes. You know?
Nice. So that it appeals to the Gen Z audience.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, like, how much productivity gains and efficiencies are you seeing with this? Because what you're sharing is, I think, a lot of even what Indian newsrooms are doing. But I'm really curious to see in outside of the world, like, what are some of the gains that you've seen?
Well, the gain is absolutely 100% because you get the new audiences, you get millions of views because you are quicker. You're faster than your competitors. You can wrap your own information like long hour-long interviews into smaller pieces and publish it instantly. You can, I don't know, place time codes of the interview in like 20 to 30 seconds. And it used to take, well, at least 20 minutes to do so, see? And it doesn't mean that we don't use creative force. We still need people, but the journalists just have to cope with it. Otherwise, you will be left aside if you don't know how to use AI.
True. Yeah, you have to embrace it. It's here. So
yeah,
you have
here.
to.
The future is now.
Absolutely. Vivek, I would love to come to you. You know, you've heard the whole set, and I think just the vantage point you have working with different industries across. I think one of the questions we're all asking ourselves is that, the whole commercial models of how various stakeholders in this businesses are going to be remunerated is going to completely shift. We're still figuring out what that will look like. At OpenAI as a platform, we're thinking of that. Creators are thinking of that. Filmmakers are thinking of that. So I'm really curious, what could potentially those models be? Because unless those incentives are not aligned, we're always going to be at loggerheads, and somebody is going to feel that they are being treated unfairly.
Yeah, so let me give you a few views on that as well, because there's a few things that I think that are worth thinking about where this is going to move. But I think in terms of where we are right now, you look at OpenAI right now and all the kind of conversations that are going on about copyright and fair use. Where they are moving to, so if you sort of hear some of the CEOs of tech companies talking, is that they agree that content providers and creatives need to be compensated some way, because they realize the kind of the pain that's being caused at the moment. A bit of that's happening
so
right
much
now.
the pain, it's also, everyone we want to be inclusive, we want to grow with everyone. So I think it's not so much the pain, but I think nobody knows what that new era should look like. I think we're all figuring that out. So.
Correct. And if you look at the kind of the organic growth of large language models, like 2016, it was kind of like it was a science project. And where could they find data? Easiest place to find it was internet. So all of it was kind of inconsequential. I don't think it was sort of thinking about the IP issues at the time. They were just thinking, how do we train up in the most effective way this giant AI brain? But clearly now it's become profit-making and it's now having huge consequences, which I think we're at an inflection point. We're in a different place. So at the most basic level, what's happening right now is kind of conversations are happening with individual kind of media outlets to say, right, what is a contract that we'll draw with you? Like the Financial Times in the UK, for instance, signed a deal with OpenAI, and we'll see more of that. There are some really smart methods already out there. So as we start getting more and more into this and the market evolves, things like basic attention tokens. I know you've come across this. So this whole concept of if we democratize this whole process, so creatives can have their information out there and it's being picked up by large language models being trained on, how do we pick up a bit like the kind of Spotify model, how much attention is being placed on their work, and how do you then compensate them for that as well? And then I think blockchain and smart contracts is the other area and it's really just a way of saying, right, can we real time see what's being used to generate output to then pay in a fair way. So a lot of that's already out there, by the way. And so when the models evolve, there are mechanisms that could be potentially deployed. A couple of things I just wanted to kind of put in the room right now. And I'm the numb sector guy, right? So I'm the kind of tech geek on the panel. So definitely not as cool as you guys. Definitely wasn't going to get applause from anyone by being chief AI officer. But look, there's a couple of things I wanted to throw out, which I think are kind of really interesting to sort of think about right now. There is a very, very big debate going on right now about fair use versus copyright, right? And that is everything we're talking about right now all gets thrown out if copyright laws kind of go out, and basically you've got the largest regulators and the largest territories just saying, actually, copyright no longer applies for when we're training models, right? So that's quite fundamental. So I think everyone has to watch that. The other thing I think you should all think about, I'm sort of thinking about this as a technologist right now, is the large language models. There's a race right now, it's an arms race for how sophisticated these models are becoming. All these multimodal models, stable diffusion, and Sora and all the others. The thing that's really interesting right now is one of the things that's limiting where these models go next is data. They've already trained up on all the data that's available, and data by humans isn't being generated quick enough for the models to move. So this is now, they're getting to a point where AI is going to start generating the next wave of data for these models to start training on, so there's enough data. Now, the interesting thing there is it becomes even more remote from the original creator. So where does the value get attributed when AI's created that data as well? So some really interesting things. The one thing I would say, if I give you a cross-sector view, though, and I think, Shekhar, this kind of goes to what you were saying earlier. I spend my whole time with the CEOs and C-suites of the largest companies, and we're looking at their strategy. One thing's for sure, there's kind of two debates that are going on right now. One is kind of thinking, well, actually, this is what I do today, and what does AI mean for that? And would I buy, wouldn't I buy? And a bit of that's where is the technology right now? To your point, can you use technology to do full-blown production? No. Working with OpenAI right now, the speed at which they are moving and the speed at which the models are being trained up to a point where there's basic issues right now that when you create an avatar, even if it's realistic, there's a persistent. Every time you do a new prompt, it'll change it slightly. Those things are being worked on, they're being fixed. So the technology is going to move really, really quickly. A lot of this, though, I think when you sit back and you think about it, so my advice to you when I'm sort of talking across all the sectors is think less from your perspective as being people in the industry, more from the consumers and how are they going to buy. When you take all the friction points out, and if you can start publishing and making high-quality kind of production available in a creative form, and if you can take all the friction points out and I don't think it's price actually, it's kind of the friction points out for the consumers, that's probably the model that's going to win out. And then we've got to then work with the fluidity around that. What are the commercial models that then sort of operate in that world? So I think right now where we are is in an augmentation world, to your point, pre-production, post-production, the technology is phenomenal. I mean, like looking at things with Cinealytics and Scriptbook and how you can just say, right here, digest 4,000 scripts and tell me which one's likely to be the biggest success. That's already been used. It has been for a few years. In terms of where I think it's moving and how quickly it's going to move, I think that's where it's really interesting. But I do think, to your original point, there are potential commercial models that work for democratizing for creatives where you can then pay on an as-use basis. They do exist.
Yeah, no, they do. I think there are many complications there is what my general understanding is. But I'd love to hear from you, Shekhar, when you are, in an era where you produced a movie maybe 20 years ago in Hindi, and there was a certain kind of contract that you had with actors and or the ecosystem, and today you can probably dub that movie in 50 languages within months and then re-release those movies, right? And obviously somebody who's an actor or part of that ecosystem is now sitting here and thinking, well, I just got paid once and now there are 50 versions of this movie that's out there. So all of that is also going to very shift very, very quickly and very soon. What are your views on this, and how do you feel that the industry could really cope better with this? Are the commercial contracts today that people are signing on going to look very, very different?
We've always done that. Indian films are famous all over the world because of the songs. The actor doesn't sing the songs.
But you know what I mean.
All the time. We've always done that. We've always dubbed movies. We've never done sync sound. And we are constantly getting other people to dub those things. We've always done films in 6 languages. We don't get 6 actors. We get somebody else to dub it. It's been a tradition since cinema came into India. To your point, when black and white turned to color, when sound came in, everybody said the cinema is dead. Cinema changed. Today, when we don't shoot real. Whatever you were talking about is the film, is a created look. Come onto a film set and the camera will say, create a shadow there, create a shadow there, create a shadow there. The film has become a way of a film look. When digital came in, we fought it very hard because digital flattened everything. So we used the old lenses. We used the old lenses that were bad lenses, the old Cook lenses made 50 years ago to bring it back to a film look. Now we'll have an AI look. Right? Like we went from color to black and white to sound to digital. And there are only 9,000 theaters in India. There are 90,000 theaters in China.
Yeah.
We're not competing. Only 90% or 93% of the viewership of any audiovisual product in the US is either TikTok or gaming or YouTube. 5% is film. What are we talking about? And AI is going to shift. Now, am I saying that AI will run 9,000 theaters out? No. I'm saying, like TikTok, it creates its own market. It creates its own curve. It creates its own idea. So that's one thing. What was the other thing you asked? No, so I'm not afraid of that.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, does the whole commercial contract look very different?
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. Almost every actor I know in the world is copywriting themselves. I can copyright, or the estate of Amrish Puri can copyright Amrish Puri, they cannot copyright Mogambo. So there'll be a big fight about who owns the copyright of that performance, right? In Tom Cruise in MI5 is a different Tom Cruise. He can copyright himself. Can he copyright him running? That's going to be a huge, copyright is going to be a huge issue. Not just you scraping, AI is going on scraping. What I really found was the fact that AI will run out of data. It'll create its own data, that's a problem. Who knows? Who knows? It's an exciting thing, but there's, right, AI, I'm going to just take 2 minutes to tell you what AI cannot do, then we'll understand AI.
Love to hear.
First, what? Some of you must be mathematicians here. You have an X curve and a Y curve, a Y, X and a Y thing, then you look at change. The problem is all change has to have a context. You have to measure change against something. If your x-axis and y-axis is shifting at the same time as it's shifting, what are you going to measure change against? Every time we look at change, this film is better than that. It's, so the change that I'm saying is the existential change that is coming to our world is that you won't have change to measure against. And therefore you have to accept what is called chaos. There is no chaos in this universe. Chaos is changed at an unprecedented pace. Shiva's Tandav is not chaos, but it's rhythm at a pace that you can only become part of the Tandav. You cannot see it. You cannot comprehend it. We have to go back to that kind of mythology. So what can AI... So that's when I say there's an existential change. And therefore, everything changes in that context. I was at that meeting when everybody was talking about AI will give a better consumer experience. Hang on. Your consumer is not going to be the same consumer that you are giving a better consumer. The consumer is changing. The consumer, but that change is coming at such an unprecedented space. And I'm hoping the world will be a better place. Because what you just said, who are going to be the leaders of this AI revolution? Are leaders of people who can deal with chaos. Business schools don't teach you to deal with chaos, right? And so here's the question. As a kid, I would see a ditch and I would want to jump over that ditch. Why? Constantly we were getting hurt because I could fall. AI, in all its data, cannot assume that it could fall. It'll say, here's a ditch, I can measure it, go from here to there, right? From here, A to B, I can do it or I cannot do it. It doesn't go into the idea of mystery of falling in. And life exists because it's a mystery. Life exists because there's chaos. I don't fall in love because I know that everything that will happen tomorrow is exact. I fall in love because it may not be reciprocated.
The journey is interesting.
The journey is a mystery.
Yes.
The journey of life is a mystery. The journey of creativity is a mystery. Otherwise, why would I be creative? It's mysterious. And it's that mysteriousness that those that can understand the oracles, the Aristotles, or the creative people, the painter who faces a canvas with a brush full of paint is facing chaos. How do I put the first brushstroke? He has that creative urge, I will do that. And now, if Picasso already knew what his painting was going to be like, as the eye could tell him, if he could, why would he paint? So it is those people that can actually fundamentally deal with chaos are going to rise up as the leaders. And not as leaders of the top of the pyramid. I've already said that. The leaders that keep, and they will be fluid from one sparrow to another to another. It'll be a conglomeration of a better way of living, a better way of organizing ourselves. Everybody can become a leader, everybody can become a follower.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very fluid for sure.
We're going to have a great society,
yeah.
right? You're right. Tell me if you agree with me or are you scared of it? I'm not scared.
How many of you are scared? That's a good point. I mean, if you can raise your hand, how many of you are scared of what the world that AI is going to bring? Very few. I love it. This is a room filled with AI optimists. So this is just the room we want to be talking to. As we just wrap this up, could each one of you kind of visualize and share, with all of us, what is the most transformative change in AI that you see in your area, within the next year? And, I say a next year because that's like a decade when it comes to just the accelerated pace that AI is growing at, which Shekhar just spoke about. I mean, at OpenAI, certainly we've saturated all the evals. I mean, evals are the benchmarks against which you kind of see whether you've grown or not and at what pace you're growing, and we've saturated that. So it's very interesting. I'd love to start with you, Viktoria. How are you seeing that change in the newsroom for you?
Yeah, so what I'm noticing is that from the news perspectives, the information that we have to feed to the audience is becoming more specified, more specific, and I'd say more condensed. So we really need to squeeze in as much information into like shorter pieces as possible. So we as journalists need to balance between staying truthful to our profession, staying true, staying balanced, and or being basing our reports on actual facts, so actual real information, and between this shorter period spans of time. And because of this, so what I see for the AI as a future development in journalism, for example, so there will be more and more and more content, like millions of pieces of content being shared by lots of people at different backgrounds, different languages, at the more speed, quicker than ever, meaning that, for example, Russian agencies may reach Indian audiences. Indian news agencies may reach Russian audiences, because as of now, it's still like the very old style. Like if you're a journalist, you're subscribed to a newswire, and you wait like for the flashes to come out, and then you write a report based on the flashes that came out, and you have to pay for some features. So first of all, there will be no paywalls, no paid information, and there will be more and more information.
Interesting. So the multilingual capabilities will allow you to just serve everyone in the world, as opposed to you today just looking at your specific audiences.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
More audience and more people and more younger people online.
I'd love to hear from you, Vijay. Just being a content creator, I think we're already seeing how users are interacting with AI. What do you really see in the next 1 year? What's really going to transform? What's going to change with just what you've already seen in terms of capabilities?
I think for me, it kind of distills down to three things. I think it increases distribution. You may have bigger reach. I think you're literally putting creativity in every hand. In our company today, we just launched something called as Har Ghar Creator. Har Ghar Creator.
Okay.
Which means that today, if you use technology well enough, anyone can create content, right? Like I have a friend of mine whose home cook during COVID started a YouTube channel of home recipes, right? And she's a regular house help in Bangalore, and she has like 75,000 followers, right?
Wow.
I'd love to empower her more, right? People like that. So actually so I think it'll create opportunity for everyone to create larger. And everything boils down to money. So I do hope it democratizes commerce in all forms. I think if you look at India, let's not even go worldwide. I don't really know, but maybe I think we're in the mid-teens in terms of e-commerce penetration, right? Unlike China, which is a lot more saturated. If you look at the live commerce or the social commerce model in China, that's about $400 billion, right? Imagine what we can do just on the construct of online shopping and the number of creators you can create who can actually make money just selling product. Now you give them better tools, you give them better environments to create content in, you give them better access to data, and I want guys in Indore, Jabalpur, Surat, Coimbatore, Madurai to really start making money, because why else would anyone want to create content? I mean, you'll do it up to a certain point to satisfy yourselves creatively, but I think increased penetration, democratizing the reach of being a creator, and increased monetization. I think the last bucket is very important, because I don't think you will survive as a creative industry without that.
Makes sense. We heard the Prime Minister say, Shekhar, that we should be telling 1 billion stories out of India, right? And so I think that's really his aspiration. So I'm really want to hear from you. Where do you see this a year from now, or even longer term vision that you might have on this?
Do you know, when India first went to cell phones from landlines, everybody said, nobody can read, nobody can type, what do you mean? It won't happen, nothing will happen. And suddenly they said, chalo, India has that many, 1 million landline connections, maybe 20% of them will become cell phones. Now we know what happened. There was one kid in there and said, you know what, if you get cell phones, it will run Kodak out of business. That took 30 years. We created, the camera came into the cell phone, Instagram was created, we started to take pictures with Instagram, Kodak suddenly went out of business. That will take 1 year. That's what I talk about. Change at a pace that is so unprecedented that's why I say the x-axis, the y-axis is shifting. And the people that will adapt best are the people that you are trying to get your product to, because they want it. They need it. They want change. Their lives are such that they want change. When they catch on to it, they'll know that the pyramid is now flat. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. From no cell phone to Instagram to the bankruptcy of Kodak is going to take 1 year. That's what I'm saying will happen with AI.
Yeah, no, transformational for sure. I mean, want to hear from you, Vivek. I mean, just from the industries you're seeing, there's a massive fear around job impact, right? And I think we believe that it's only going to grow, and there's going to be an era of abundance because every time there's been a transformational change in society, it's only created new kinds of jobs and allowed people to really flourish, and society at large has done much better. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's you've got to think about the output and what's going to happen. Are we going to consume more? Do humans still want escapism? Of course they do, and it might be easier to access that. So I think in terms of what we're consuming right now, what's out there in industry across all sectors, it's fundamentally, I think, going to change. And I'll give you a really interesting view right now. So I spend a lot of my time working with VCs and PE houses, and what they're doing right now, and this won't surprise you, and I'll give you a cross-sector view of this right now. They're literally going through and spending a huge amount of time analyzing every single sector in detail and working out, are there sectors where there's not a lot of moat, there's not a lot of IP, there's quite easy to disrupt, and can we have a well-funded AI-type first platform that can come in and take over this industry? Now, what is not changing is what's being served, and I think that will carry on evolving. So people are going to carry on consuming, but the people who are running things the way they're running things right now, and if they're not able to change, almost the blockbuster story, the DVDs to kind of moving to video streaming and all the rest of it, those companies, that is going to change, I think. I agree. I think what you're really going to see, like you've never seen before with any technology wave, is this kind of revolving doors of the big. So when you look at all the big listed companies right now, would I put bets on stability of that over the next 3-4 years? Absolutely not. I've got no idea what that's going to look like. If you look at the valuation, how quickly other companies are coming in. So I think that's going to be the thing that's going to be super, super interesting. So like, I'm massively excited about this because I think AI's got, yes, there's fears to it. We can't really predict with any great accuracy where we're going to be with jobs. Some industries, so I think this is the thing we've got to be really careful about. Yes, I think it's going to have an impact. And we'll see what territories do in terms of regulating this, and I think there might need to be some. However, I think every time we've had one of these waves, what happens is people look at exactly what they're doing today and saying, if we apply this new technology wave, this new capability, this will be the impact on what we do today. And that's kind of the main point, isn't it? What we do today is not going to be relevant in 3-4 years. So it's kind of, what is the actual impact when you look at the way we're evolving and the speed we're evolving?
Yeah,
and that for sure, I think is going to evolve. The one thing I would leave you with right now, if I put my technology hat on right now again, because that's my kind of comfort zone, is the one big change I think you're going to have over and above all these multimodal models and SOAR and all these other things that we're talking about pre and post production, which they'll carry on moving really quickly. Reasoning is when you link in reasoning with these models. When you sort of talk about deep research and reasoning, so I'm working with the likes of OpenAI and others right now, that is moving at phenomenal pace. So these are models where you can ask them the most outrageously complex questions, and they can potentially go away, depending on what you're thinking about, they could go away and think for 5 hours or 2 days, and what's now beginning to come out is actually quite mind-bendingly kind of impressive. So how do you take that kind of knowledge, train it in certain sets of data, and how could you use it within your sector? How does that change things? So that's the only thing I would leave
shifts
here.
in medicine and discovery. We're already seeing that, with the use of deep research. I think I kind of agree with a lot of what you said around. The VCs are looking at, if it's a bigger company, it's far tougher for them to now change and pivot. But if you're starting a business today, it will be AI first, which means you're going to be moving with the intelligence wave much faster, much better. It's to what Shekhar you said, where
I just want to say, you just said, if you're a VC company, that will get redefined. Who is a VC company? If the pyramid is flat, who is a VC company? What does VC mean? What does it mean? What does a bank mean? What does hoarding money mean? What does money mean? I mean, valuations. I was a chartered accountant. We were taught that, if a company is really good, you take 2-3 times the multiple, the PE ratio of the earnings. NVIDIA was 76 times. What does it mean? So everything that we are looking at in life anyway is false. It's a myth. It's storytelling. It's mythology. I read the Time magazine sometimes about something I really know, and I know that it's very sophisticated rumor mongering. So that's what it is. It's everything. We live by telling myths. We live by telling stories. How AI can't change that like this? Of course it will. Right? Yeah.
Well, there is going to be a lot of chaos, but I can certainly say that, AI is here, and I think it's already creating a lot of positive transformations. You've heard from the panel on what they feel where the real opportunities are, and I hope that we're able to harness the transformation and the opportunity much more, and together tackle the challenges so that the real outcome for society is net positive. So thank you for listening to us, and thank you for all your time.